This is former Hoosier basketball player Nick Zeisloff. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Hey, we're joined now by former Indiana superstar Steve Risley.
That's not right. There's no superstar involved in mine.
Hey, man, you're a starter on the 87 or the 81 national championship team.
Well, that doesn't make me a superstar. That makes me.
It does in our book, baby. It does in our book. You're a superstar for coming on.
Like I said, Isaiah Thomas and I combined for 26 points in the championship game. He got 21 and I got 5.
Hey, baby, you're right on the book. You're on the book. What you doing up so early? It's early out in California.
We get up early out here. We enjoy the sunset, the sunrise. We get up and, we get up, we go to bed with the sunset and get up to sunrise out here. We don't mess around with nightlife.
I hear that. Is that part of your Scientology?
No, I'm not a Scientologist. I'm not Tom Cruise. Absolutely not.
Hey, speaking of which, we're talking about Mike Roberts and Archie bringing in an Indiana guy.
Yeah.
I know your thoughts on that.
Absolutely great move for the program. I think they needed to do this. They needed to bring some tradition back into the program. And, Mike has had a great success as coaching throughout his career before he came here. And I think this is a tremendous move for Archie to do this, and an important move for Archie to do this, because I think Archie's on the hot seat right now. I mean, he's got to win. I genuinely think he needs to, he needs to have put together a good season, and he's got talent this year. He's picked up some good players. Joey Brunk, I grew up with his dad, and I think they have they've got a good team built now. So I think building in some Hoosier tradition back into it. I think Mike is a solid coach looking at his resume. And I think this was a very smart move for Archie Miller to do this.
Well, if he can land his point guard, his top 50 point guard out of North Carolina, it would be a damn smart move right off the bat, because Archie's been trying to land a point guard for 2 years without success.
Well, they've got Devontae. Devontae's fine. I mean, yeah, it's always good because, like Archie said, I watched this show that you broadcast on our website the other day, and he talks about how you've got to just perpetuate recruiting, and that's the hard part. And that's kind of why Brad Stevens got out of college basketball. He just didn't want to perpetuate the recruiting. It's a constant process. So, yeah, but I think he's got everything he needs. He's got all the equipment he needs right now to contend for the Big Ten at this point in time. Now, are they a national championship team? I don't think so. We'll have to look and see how much Brunk brings to the team at 6'10" or 6'11". I'm not sure. I've heard different variations on his height. When I was playing, I was listening anywhere from 6'7" to 6'11". So it all gets kind of broken down. But I think Devontae Green right now is fine, but he's got to keep building and perpetuating and keep it going. So this needs to be a good year for Indiana basketball.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I know that Hoosier Nation's all giddy with seeing all these Indiana kids on the roster, but when it comes down to it, you got to win, man. And I don't care if they're from Mars. As long as you're winning, that's all that matters.
Yeah. No. And you talked about North Carolina. I mean, Dave Colescott was a good friend of mine. And he was, I think, was he Mr. Basketball in 1976? I can't remember if he was or not.
Who was that?
He played Dave Colescott. He played at Marion, I think.
Oh, I saw you put that name in, and I'm like, I don't know that name.
Yeah, I thought, but he went to North Carolina and played there and had a great career at North Carolina. So to steal one of their players back to Indiana would always be a great thing. But
you had Sean May. You had Sean May that went to North Carolina as well.
Yeah, but that was a different issue. I mean, that was
I know, I understand.
That was issue between coaching and everything like that going on, and the
Yeah.
76 team, the inner circle of Indiana basketball, the one that we're not privileged to be in.
So did the 76 team lose even more talent that they could have possibly not lose, but there could have been even more talent on that team?
No, that's one of the greatest basketball teams ever built in the world. They didn't need any more talent. More talent.
I know that.
What's the old saying? Too many chefs spoil the broth.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they had all the talent. The 76 team had all the talent it needed. It had all the players to build a high-performing team. And, you look at Tommy Abernathy, and Tom's a great friend of mine. He runs Indiana Basketball Academy up in Carmel. And he's everybody fit their role. Unfortunately, they had some injuries. But, Quinn Buckner is probably one of the greatest leaders of all time at Indiana. Just in terms of just being able to lead a team and be the Coach Knight on the court. And that's when Coach Knight was truly at his finest. In 81, we had Isaiah. And Isaiah is one of the 30 greatest basketball players of all time to ever play the game. And we got to play alongside him and play with him. And it was a different situation. But the 76 team was so strong top to bottom, Bobby Wilk, Benny, Quinn, Scotty, Abers. I mean, you go down, and the only sad part is the 75 team was probably actually better than the 76 team.
Heard that many times.
Pardon?
I've heard that many times, including Coach Snyder made that statement many times.
They had Greeno. They had Greeno then, and they had Laz. They had 2 extra players, but it just didn't work out. But it's just time for Indiana to get back to that, and I think needs to be a little pressure put on Coach Miller right now to say, okay, you've been here a couple of years now, and we've been 500, mediocre, and it's time to start elevating this program back up to where it should be. But I think he's making the right moves because he's coming back in now. He's recruiting in state. He's looking at players local. And I mean, I look back at 81. We only had one player outside of Indiana, Illinois. I don't think we had anybody from Ohio. Let's see. We had Jimmy Thomas from Florida. It was the only player that I can remember that was outside of our little geography right here. And there is so much talent located right here that you need to stay right here and just grab the talent right here. And I'll tell you a story. And here's the story. I came home from track practice one day after in the spring, and I get a phone call. And the phone's ringing, and so nobody's home. I pick up the phone, and I get a phone call, and it's like, who is? He said, Steve Risley there. I said, this is Steve Risley. Because this is Bob Knight. I said, yeah, freaking right. Yeah, this is Bob Knight calling me right now. Yeah, no way. He said. And I said, well, who's pranking me now? And he said, no, this is Bob Knight. He said, would you like to come to Indiana and play basketball? And I didn't talk to my parents. I did not talk to my AD. I did not talk to my basketball coach. I did not talk to my football coach. I said, Coach, there would be no greater honor in the world than to play for Indiana basketball. And that's how that went down.
I believe that completely because it sounds just like Michael Lewis told me his story was. He was actually on a visit there at least, but they were in the coach's office and his parents were sitting behind him, and Coach Knight walks in and slaps him on the back as he walks by and says, Michael, how'd you like to play basketball at Indiana?
Yeah.
He said that would be really cool.
Automatically. Then I had to go tell everybody that because I'd already committed. I had verbally committed. There's no signing yet. I had talked to Dan Devine because I was an All-American quarterback in high school, and I had talked to Digger Phelps, and my mom wanted me to play at Notre Dame. So I'm thinking, my grades were good enough. I could get into Notre Dame, And I said, okay, I'm going to go play at Notre Dame. And then all of a sudden, Knight calls me, and I'm like, yeah. And then I told him, I said, well, there's one small problem. I said, I've already kind of verbally committed to Notre Dame that I would come there. But he said, have you signed anything? I said, no. He goes, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And the first time we played Notre Dame at Market Square Arena, Digger Phelps comes up to me and slaps me on the back. And they had Kelly Tripucka, they had Orlando Rollage, they had a great team. They had Tracy Jackson. I mean, they had a Final Four team at that point in time. And I was going to be one of the fifth cogs, or one of the cogs in that part of it, wherever it fit in. Gil Salinas, they had a fabulous basketball team, and but that's how that all transpired. But when Knight called you, and we need to get back to that. When Archie Miller calls you, it's like, yes, I want to play at Indiana. And that's where it needs to get back to. And that's where he needs to take it back to. And hopefully his staff and everybody can pull that back in. They've got to start winning games. They've got to, my God. I was looking on, I think you were posting some of it on your site, the facilities they have now.
Yeah, it's been a complete transformation.
We actually used the guest locker room. I actually never went into the actual what was designed as the home team locker room, because Knight wanted to use the other way because the training room was closer to our locker room, so we always dressed in the guest locker room. That was our permanent locker room. And Isaiah's locker was right next to mine. Whitman's was on the other side. Kitchell's, Tolbert, Turner. I mean, we were all there. And then Knight always put the names of all the players that had used that locker. And you saw a list every time you walked into your locker room. You saw a list of all the players who had shared that locker with you.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if that's still there or not anymore because I haven't been in the locker room in a long time.
Well, they've redone it so completely that it's hard to tell because they've everything is brand new.
Well, now they're in Cook Hall, which, yeah. Now they walk through the halls of Cook Hall. I think they actually dress in Cook Hall, I think. They just use that locker room for halftime is what I think now. But, and I don't know that for a fact.
No, I think it's true because it's right outside the press room is the tunnel that leads over to Cook Hall, and I always see them coming over from right there. So,
and every time I've gone to a game before I moved to Los Angeles, where it's already 85 degrees.
Brag.
No, it's going to be 105 here today. We don't need that because my air conditioner is going to run all day. And it's going to run up my electric bill. So
Get a Wham burger. Get a Wham burger at In-N-Out Burger.
We had In-N-Out last night. So we had In-N-Out burgers last night. They are great. But I love the fact that he's, bringing Mike in. He's coming back in and bringing some local people back in, and he's going to look to recruit back in the state and get kids that want to play Indiana basketball. But it's a question of, for him right now, to me, is he needs to put some wins on the board.
Yep.
Is what I say. I mean, he's got to win something. He's been here, 3 years? 2 years or 3 years?
This will be his third season.
Third season, yeah. He needs to win something this year. So but he's making the right moves. So let's be patient. One more year, give him a shot, and see what happens. That's my thoughts.
There you go. I agree.
You have?
That's it, brother. That's all you can do. You have to. You got to give him a shot. Plus, you have the fact that Fred Glass is not going to do anything because he hired him. He's not going to.
Well, you know what? Here's the deal with Fred Glass, and Fred is a great guy. I mean, he has helped me every time I have asked him to help me. But he's a fundraiser. He's basically a fundraiser is what he does for the university. I mean, the university makes a boatload of money. I mean, you saw the article a couple of weeks ago or 3 or 4 weeks ago about the president starting to take money out of the athletic department because the athletic department is too damn rich. And they're saying, we're going to build new buildings for the students and do other things. So, McRobbie says, we're going to take money out of here and out of the athletics department. And because Fred does his job extremely well. And he's hired good people. Tom Allen is, Indiana football looks solid. We may be able to get to a bowl game this year. We hope to. He's bringing great talent into this program. He's a good hire. Archie Miller is a good hire. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. But here's the $10 question. And I'll ask you this. Coach Knight allegedly has moved back to Bloomington, Indiana.
He's purchased a home here. I don't think he's moved back.
He's purchased a home here. Okay. So is he going to come to a game?
I think if he gets if he lives in Bloomington, he will. But I'll be honest with you, since news of that broke and the Indianapolis Star so grossly printed his address, I think that may have affected him moving here because he's not moved back yet, and this has been a few months now. So I'm
going to tell you what. I've known Coach Knight for over 40 years. There's nothing that affects that man. He does what he wants to do.
There's truth to that.
I met him when I was a sophomore in high school, when I was 16 years old, and I'm now 60. So it's 44 years ago. And there's nothing that affects that man. He does what he wants to do. And that's why you admire the man, because that's how he's lived his life. That's why you either love him or admonish him one way or another. It's like you don't like him because he does what he wants to do, or you respect him because he does what he wants to do. So, but the question is, I think personally, if he came back to Assembly Hall, you almost could not do it during a game.
Yeah.
Because the place would never shut up. I mean, Coach Miller wouldn't be able to coach. The players wouldn't be able to play. The fans would go nuts. It would just be abominable for everything going on. So it's like
they definitely could not make the announcement during the game. That's a fact. There's no way they could make it during the game because it would be a long period of before they got back to action.
You just couldn't do it. I mean, the only way you could really bring him back initially, in my opinion, would be if you just had a program at Assembly Hall and brought him in to speak and then worked him back into the system. If that's his motive, I have no idea what his motive is.
Nobody does. Like you said,
3 years.
Nobody. Like you said, nobody does. He does his own deal.
Nobody does. He does his own thing.
To his own drummer.
Exactly. And
all right,
you're gonna wake up one day and you're gonna see him just all of a sudden walk into Assembly Hall.
That's it.
And that's how it's gonna happen, unannounced and everything.
That's it. It's been a great added bonus here on this Friday to have former national champion Steve Risley with us, the Riz. Thank you, brother. How you been?
I'm waiting for the Todd Father. I got to hear the Todd Father.
Oh, he's coming up in the next hour, man. He's coming up. I'm
listening to him.
Never disappoints.
I need a name too, like the Grizzly Bear or something like that. You are
the
Todd Father. I gotta be the Grizzly Bear.
I got that from who was it that I got that from? Not Ray Tolbert, but Landon Turner. I heard Landon Turner when you had him on out there. Steve's with the Grueling Truth Sports Network, if you haven't picked up on that yet. And I heard when you had Landon Turner on, I think he called you Riz the Grizz or whatever. That's where I picked that up.
Yeah. It all rhymes.
But make sure you follow Steve Risley and Colin Hartman on the Grueling Truth. They're about to restart off their Indiana.
We're going to fire up about mid-September. We're going to wait and let things kind of just get settled in, let them get into some practice, and then Colin and I and Mike Goodpasser, who runs the website, we'll all be back on talking about IU basketball, and we'll have you on. You're always a contributor to what we do. We post your show on our site every day, and we get a lot of likes and a lot of listens from the work you do, and we're grateful. So it's always fun to talk, but I really like what Archie Miller's doing and coming back and just starting to recruit more in Indiana. I think that's just the way it should go.
Certainly is, brother. Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate you. It's awesome talking to you on this Friday morning. Way to kickstart the weekend. Great start to it. Steve, thank you. Have a great weekend, by the way.
Hey, I'll leave it with this. I'm just hoping the hurricane doesn't kill the NASCAR race at Darlington. That's all I care.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That.
Yeah. The hurricane's coming in, and Darlington is a track too tough to tame, and it's, I just want to sit around Sunday night and watch the race.
I hear you. All right,
Have
brother.
a good one, my buddy.
Thank you, my friend. Steve Risley, former member of the 81 National Championship Indiana basketball team. Hey, thanks for listening to the rebroadcast from today's edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle, the only daily show dedicated to Indiana University athletics. You can catch us live each weekday on IndianaSportsBeat.com, TheDailyHoosier.com, GruelingTruth.com, or go to Spreaker.com for live notifications. Yeah, that's Speaker with an R, SPREAKER.com. You can also catch the entire show any place you listen to a podcast, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, etc. You can find and follow the show on Facebook or follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB for complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. Thanks again. I hope you have a great day. I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.